Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us. As you're dialing in today, I'd love if you could let us know where you're calling in from in the chat. Welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Remake. Remake is a nonprofit advocacy organization fighting for human rights and climate justice, and we are so excited to be in community with you all today. Oh, I'm seeing folks letting us know where they're calling in from in the chat. Please drop in the chat for us. Hi from Austin, Texas, from a frosty New York City. Hello from Brazil, probably not as frosty in Brazil. Hi from the UK. Welcome everyone. Hi from Newcastle, Ohio. It's so lovely to have you all joining us. Before we get started, I have activated closed captions for this call, which you should be seeing on the screen now. If you need instructions for putting closed captions on your Zoom, we've dropped those in the chat for you. And as you are all logging in today, please feel free to drop in your name, where you're calling from, so we can say hello. It's so hard to believe that this is the last Remake community call of the year, but it's always such a special tradition to begin each month with all of you. I hope you're all doing well. And we also just want to say that we hope when you leave this call today, you feel that there is an incredible path forward and community of people for you to tackle that path forward with. That's the thing that I want you to hold on to for this call today. So I hope that is some inspiration to get you excited for what we're going to discuss today. Before we get into our conversation, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Tessa, who has some exciting updates to share with you all.
Hello, everyone. It just warms my heart to see all of you joining the call today and see your names and faces, both new and familiar. We're so appreciative of you all joining us. And as Emily said, just celebrating all that we've been able to accomplish together as a powerful community. I have the privilege of giving you just a quick teaser to start off our call on all of the incredible impact that we've had as an organization. And just to start off, I know many of you will recognize these campaign names, but I'd love to just run through just a few of those quick statistics of what happened just in 2024 through the people power of all of you here on this call. For those of you who are new to joining Remake for the first time or joining your first community call, welcome. I'd love to just introduce some of these incredible campaigns to you as well. So first, we have our No New Clothes Challenge. So many of you know this is a 90-day commitment just to try going without purchasing any new clothes and really turning on and learning, what are our practices and what are our approaches to buying and why do we buy, who's making our clothes, and really becoming a little bit more conscious about that. And so with this incredible campaign, you have all brought us to reaching over 8,400 challenge takers and it's counting. Every year we see, and every day we see that this number is growing, and that means you're protecting our community and our garment worker partners from greater climate impacts by mitigating that. And so many more incredible metrics come out of that campaign, which we can share in the chat. But on the Fabric Act side, so that campaign is in particular a federal bill that we're working on to protect our garment worker partners right here in the United States. We have 100,000 garment workers here that still don't necessarily make a fair wage or a minimum wage even. And so with this campaign, we're working on changing that and ensuring that the minimum wage is the floor, not the ceiling for our garment worker partners. With this campaign, we have gained 100 more endorsers just this year, reaching over 400 now. And I'd love if everyone feel free to drop in the chat. Did you participate in No New Clothes? Maybe you're one of those pledge takers. Maybe you helped lead a campaign initiative within the Fabric Act or started to call your local representatives to get them involved. Anything that you did to contribute, we'd love to celebrate you here in the chat. So please feel free to drop it. And on the International Accord front, we have expanded this life-saving safety program to over 2,000 factories, now protecting over 2.6 million women. I hope you all just take a moment to soak that in for a second. This is real impact that you're making on the lives of the garment worker partners we serve across the world, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, and in the United States and beyond. And you all make that possible. Every single petition you've signed, every action that you've taken, whether it's sharing on social media, hosting an event in person, educating your community, You have made all of these numbers possible, and you continue to help us grow this movement that we can always lean into to support one another and to build together. On that front, I am just so grateful to also invite you all to say, share some of your personal wins in the chat. Please drop them. Let us know. We'd love to, again, celebrate anything that you've done within this realm or outside of it that you're proud of as you close out the year. This community means so much to us, and we just want to pour back into you the way that you've poured into us. And on that front, we have this incredible Give Your Values matching challenge happening as we close out this year. This is one of the greatest ways to power this mechanism for real systems change. All of those impact stats that you saw on the last slide became possible because we had the resourcing behind us to push out beautiful, intentional campaign strategy that ensures that we are elevating the voices of our garment worker partners in everything that we take on. We are fighting alongside each of you and trying to hand you all the resources and educational tools, articles, films, anything that we can do, and support from our team to ensure that, again, we can grow this impact steadily together through anything. And so I'm so proud to share that we are already at nearly halfway towards our goal of $100,000 raised by the end of this year. And I want to invite you all to consider, as we approach this holiday season, there are so many ways that we might be feeling an extra need for community during this time, an extra desire for hope and for coming together and looking for places where joy can thrive and grow in the coming year as well. And I want to invite you all to consider if you see Remake as a place where that is possible, where hope and joy is possible, where community is possible, and where you can continue to step into your power through the end of this year and beyond into 2025. Powering this movement is such an incredible way to nurture that for yourself, for others, to invite others around the world. We want to reach so many more people and continue to, again, protect our garment worker partners around the world through their voices and through their support and through their partnership in this work. And so if you can, we invite you to give any amount that's meaningful to you. That could be $5 that you spend on a coffee this week. If you've got capacity for so much more, we invite that and we welcome it because this work means so much to us. I know how much it means to each of you that I've met so far, and I welcome all of you to reach out if you want to share how this work is impacting you or share that in the chat. But we hope that you'll consider either giving to Remake or inviting your loved ones if they want to give you something this season. And maybe if you're part of this community, you're done with the stuff and you don't want any more for the rest of the year. That's okay. This could be a really beautiful way to again, feel that joy and inspiration this holiday season and know that you're pouring into work that is growing this beautiful movement that you've all empowered through your time and through your efforts and through your resources. So please do share this with your communities. Please share it with your loved ones. If you can't donate, invite 1 or 3 or 5 friends, maybe challenge someone to match your $10 donation. There are so many ways to give. There's so many ways to host events, clothing swaps, last minute kind of gift swaps with your loved ones and maybe fundraise through that. So please consider any way that's accessible to you and help us reach this $100,000 goal and help us walk into 2025 so strong and so empowered as this beautiful community through our collective resourcing and through our collective power and hope. It is so much, it means so much to me that we get to spend this time together each month, and I can't wait to see all that we'll accomplish next year. Again, I cannot believe this is the end of the year, but I'm so grateful that we get to lean into our community together in 2025. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tessa. And for everybody on the call, I want to bring attention to what Tessa was saying. Feel free to keep dropping in the chat your personal wins from this year in your advocacy with Remake. This was a big year for me too, from community organizer to community manager. I'm so grateful for all that we've built together. This community just stays calling for corporate accountability, and we don't quit. Our collective action is transforming the fashion industry. We come together in these challenging times to learn, to act, and through this passion for justice and our consistent campaigning, we are changing the political weather and knowledge on the intersectional issues of an industry that touches all regions and climates. So thank you for all that you've done this year in 2024 as we head into the holiday season and lead 2025. Over the past couple of weeks, our community members have hosted and participated in global actions for the Make Amazon Pay campaign, which we're going to hear about in a little bit. Also, I saw some chatter in the box here that the Buy Now documentary premiered on Netflix last week. If anybody has watched that, or if you're hearing about it for the first time now, it exposes how corporations have manipulated consumers, how they exploit labor and cause environmental destruction, which is so timely for Black Friday and an upcoming holiday season of rapid overconsumption. I personally have not seen it yet because I really want to help host a screening. I'm based in New York, and that's probably how I'm going to spend my Cyber Monday evening today, planning to host a screening for the Buy Now documentary. If you're looking to bring this topic into your communities as well, you can host a screening, which is a great way to do that. We have a toolkit that Emily has just dropped in the chat of how to host a Buy Now film screening. It's also a really good opportunity to talk about the No New Clothes campaign that Tessa was just talking about, and to bring in the Make Amazon Pay petition as well, because we see that when we tie in campaigns into our actions, that's how we can make the most impact to engage our local and global communities, which we're going to hear more about shortly from our NYC, our university, and our UK hubs, to hear some examples of how they've incorporated this campaign into their advocacy, and it could help give us ideas on how to mindfully enter this holiday season and start 2025. And hearing from our community and just talking about what actions our community comes up with is just my favorite thing to talk about. So without getting too carried away, I just want to say we'll continue moving forward together and building this mass movement that we will fight for human rights and climate justice in the fashion industry. And through our collective joy in organizing, we will build a just and equitable world.
Thank you, Holly. How's everyone feeling? I've loved seeing in the chat your wins. Sammy has done the New Clothes Challenge for 3 years and is working on getting Fabric Act support in Texas right now. We love to hear that. Ashley says that joining Remake and getting to know us all in 2024 was a personal highlight. We love to hear that. This community means so much to everyone who's on the call today, I know. And Maria participated in No New Clothes for the 2nd year this year. Like Holly said, if you just watched the Buy Now documentary, nothing will make you want to take the No New Clothes challenge more if you haven't seen it yet. If you are joining us for the first time, again, welcome. Remake is an organization that is fighting for fair pay and climate justice in the clothing industry. And we're called Remake because when our founder, Aisha Barenblatt, started this organization 10 years ago, she believed that we could remake our connections to each other and to the world to create a better fashion industry. We know that this has been a tough time for many in the world. It's been a tough time for many of us here at Remake, for many of the worker partners that we fight hand in hand with day in and day out. But it has been a very great solace to us to have this community and to feel that we are not alone in doing this work. To that effect, we'd like to invite one of our community change makers, Jemima, to the stage. She is going to share with us an inspiring quote that has been getting many of us through some of these tough times. Jemima, over to you.
Hello, everyone. You might be able to hear I'm at the end of a cold, so sorry if I don't sound as kind of normal, a little bit deeper than normal. But yeah, I absolutely love this quote. It's from one of my favorite books I return to all the time, called Hope in the Dark by Rebecca Solnit, and is all about kind of how we keep going as activists. So here we go. Mushroomed. After a rain, mushrooms appear on the surface of the earth as if from nowhere. Many do so from a sometimes vast underground fungus that remains invisible and largely unknown. What we call mushrooms, mycologists call the fruiting body of the larger, less visible fungus. Uprisings and revolutions are often considered to be spontaneous, but less visible long-term organizing and groundwork or underground work often laid the foundation. Changes in ideas and values also result from work done by writers, scholars, public intellectuals, social activists, and participants in social media. It seems insignificant or peripheral until very different outcomes emerge, transformed assumptions about who and what matters, who should be heard and believed, who has rights. Ideas at first considered outrageous or ridiculous or extreme gradually become what people think they've always believed. How the transformation happened is rarely remembered, in part because it's compromising. It recalls the mainstream when the mainstream was, say, rabidly homophobic or racist in a way it no longer is, and it recalls that power comes from the shadows and the margins, and that our hope is in the dark around the edges, not the limelight of center stage. Our hope and often our power.
Thank you, Jemima, for reminding us that our power is often in our hope. And we just so enjoy getting the opportunity to bring this community together. We need each other more than ever in these times. I am very excited to now welcome Aisha to share a little bit more with you about her reflections on this movement and what it means to her. Some of you may or may not know, but Remake is celebrating 10 years of impact. And this movement has had some incredibly historic wins. Aisha, I'm going to turn it over to you before I get emotional about all that Remake has achieved.
Thank you so much, Emily, and happy December, everyone. It's hard to believe here we are, end of 2024, 10 years of doing this and being in community with you all. Emily has given me the honor of sort of reminiscing a little bit on sort of everything that we have accomplished and stirred to. And I think sometimes when we're looking out into all that we want to do, because we're such a movement of doing and getting things done, that we forget to take reflection of all that we have accomplished. And I think December is the perfect time to sort of take a look back, see what we learned, as we also think about going forward. And, as the old lady in the room, 10 years ago, I had a very simple dream, which, as Emily said, Rana Plaza had fallen down. I'd spent most of my career in garment factories and in worker communities around the world. And honestly, I was heartbroken. I wanted somehow to move away from the failed and self serving corporate responsibility because there was so little that our industry was doing to protect women and the planet. And so Remake was founded, much as Rebecca Solnit says, in some ways, a wild, crazy idea of can we remake connections, human to human, across the fashion ecosystem? Can we come together to lock arms and really push for systemic reform? And I'll just say to you all that never in my wildest imagination had I thought we'd accomplish as much as we have done, as much as you all have done. Some of you are here as OGs. You may remember, a lot of you are new. But when we started 10 years ago, the humble offering that Remake offered, we just went knocking. Actually, it was just me for the first year, just went knocking to some of the fashion schools, FIT, Parsons, California College of the Arts, and we're like, hey, we've raised some money. Can we take fashion students to meet garment workers? Because often up and coming designers, people working in this industry, never meet the hands that connect our clothes, never meet fashion's most essential workers. And from that very humble offering, today, 10 years later, we are one of the most pragmatic, impactful, and actionable sustainable fashion education interventions. I think really, if you look across, we are the only game in town that centers human rights and climate justice in fashion in this way. And Emily asked, what are you proudest of? And I honestly am proudest of all of you. As I look across this community, we were 2, and then we were 10, and then we were 12, and today we are 2,000 strong across the world. We reach millions of people. And I see some of the OGs here, Robin, Katrina, Tessa, Emily, who were there in the very early days. And then there are those who've been in the front lines in newer and more recent times, like Leo and Holly and Jemima and Allison. And it's just been incredible to see this movement grow and grow. A few memorable reflections from our community. Most recently, we're coming off a high right here in San Francisco, where we started as a fledgling meetup group that Amy and Sophia Marie and now Kara and Liz, like, we want to do what those New Yorkers are doing. Some healthy competition is always good, right? And they put together their first ever Wear Your Values pre-loved show. I'm going to drop in the chat a press hit that we just got. Kelsey's like, yes, we did that. And it was incredible. I cannot tell you how many people that I talked to said, this is my first time coming out. It's felt very dark and scary, the world. But as I come to this Walk Your Values show, it's filled with joy and community. And who knew San Francisco had a sustainable fashion community? So that was really memorable. Another thing that I think is really very core to our DNA is the kind of radical collaboration that we do, these unlikely alliances that we build. And there I really have to give a shout out to our LA community, where we had sustainable brand founders like Christy Dawn and Adam from Triarchy Denim locking arms with supermodels and labor organizers and policymakers and our allies over at the Garment Worker Center to pass the Garment Worker Protection Act. We wrote postcards to Governor Newsom. We wrote letters to lawmakers. We had hundreds of sustainable entrepreneurs join arms to pass this groundbreaking legislation that then now has a sister bill at a federal level, the Fabric Act. And you saw Tessa's numbers of so many of you saying, if we did this in California, why can't we do this across the US? I started by saying Rana Plaza for me was really a breaking point. And this is where you sometimes realize that progress takes such a long time, because off the wreckage of Rana Plaza came the Accord, which today, not just in Bangladesh, but for me, it got very personal when it went to my home country of Pakistan. It protects 2.6 million women. That means all of you have enabled 2.6 million women to walk in and say, never again, Rana Plaza. I can go in and feel safe in the physical building. And you all did that. And one of my favorite memories from the years of campaigning for the Accord is our New York City chapter, where, remember we had the dead end outside Times Square, the Levi's building, and Leo had that beautiful artwork, and Colleen and so many others were there asking Levi's to sign. And Levi said, we'll never sign the Accord. And guess what, y'all? They just signed. So it's just been, I think, a reminder as you walk into the holidays, especially for those in London and chilly New York. Sometimes it's cold and dark, and we read headlines that are constantly telling us things are terrible, that when the world feels dark, often our community has made us proudest. And, I'll sort of end by, in the history of my career, and it's been a storied career of many more losses than wins, but many incredible wins, as we've been talking about today, at the height of the pandemic, when we were so afraid for our loved ones, when orders were canceled across the fashion industry, we unlocked $22 billion in canceled contracts at the height of the pandemic, where without us, millions of women would not have been paid during a global lockdown. And, things like our London community has to get a shout out there. You all, not just London, actually, the UK in general, have always been on the front lines of activism. And so as I look to the expansion of the Accord, the Garment Worker Protection Act, the Fabric Act, the Pay Up campaign, it all comes down to the fact that we are 2,200 and growing as an organizer machinery that really believes that fashion must meet our values. One thing I promised you all when we founded Remake 10 years ago is that we will always be nimble and innovative, and as a platform that will always disrupt the status quo. And a decade on, I just cannot wait for the good trouble that we're going to cause in the start of the new year. We are already on the front lines of thinking about heat stress and how climate impacts garment worker communities, how we nimbly keep pushing policy reform, even though politicians are not doing what we need them to do. But I'll just leave you with the thing that I think makes us magic is community. And so as we walk into December, I hope that you spend that time, whether it's, people saying, I'm going to host a film screening or a clothing swap, or to come together, because I think that joy, that coming together, human to human, that remaking connection is what's made us so special. So I thank you all for bearing with me. I told Emily, it's like, be fun to go down memory lane a little bit. I wish we were there in person. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. But I'd love to hear from you all. Favorite remake memory? How long have you been in this work? And I'll give it back to you, Em.
Thank you so much, Aisha. I loved seeing in the chat people saying, that was the moment I became a Remake ambassador. That was my turning point. And I think that that's just such a beautiful reminder that any day can be your turning point. Any time can be the day that you decide to leap, much as Aisha did 10 years ago, much as many of us have done along the way. And in a time that may feel dark and scary, we know that we need each other more than ever. And we know that we are in this together and that this incredible community is going to continue to move forward together and show up for each other. Know that this is a time that you can lean into Remake, and a connected and caring community is really what makes us so strong. I'm going to turn it over to one of our incredible remakers, Emily McKay, who really embodies Remake community, to share a little bit with you all about what being a part of this community has meant to her. Over to you, Em.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me to speak to this particular topic today because it is the remake community is so near and dear to my heart. And I truly would not be where I am today without the remake community, like literally, emotionally, spiritually. Um, the topic of me coming on to speak actually was prompted on the day after the election results, and there was a community organizer call, and I am actually no longer a community organizer because I'm not in Canada anymore. I've moved to New York, and but I'm still in the chat and saw that there was a call going on, and I said to Holly, I was like, I just need to be with remake people right now. I was mourning. I was really like I'm sure a lot of us were just kind of going through those initial stages of emotions of processing what had just happened, and my instinct was just immediately to turn to the remake community because these are the people, you are the people that bring me joy and hope in the world. And it really completely turned my day around and the trajectory of, over the last few weeks of processing, what is it going to be like to be in the States, especially as a Canadian, and what is this going to look like for the fashion industry and for the people I care about, all of these things. And so what remake means to me is hope and yeah, really, it's just hope. It's hope in the future of our planet. And that is kind of the truest way that I can describe my connection to Remake. And as a side note and a shout out to the New York Hub, I have been so welcomed into this family, and that's what Remake really is to me, is it's a family. And I feel so connected still to my Canadian Remake family, my global Remake family, and now my New York family. And thank you for inviting me to reflect on that and get to share that with the whole community because you guys really are just so special to me. And I hope that all new ambassadors coming in, maybe this is your first community call, I don't know, but you are about to be a part of the most incredible community of people. So I hope you're very excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Emily. And we really believe that community building is a part of self and community care. And it's a part of building sustainability, not just for us as individual advocates, but for us as a movement. So this is a time for you to get to know the people who you'll be locking arms with to fight for that hope for the future in our planet. People come into movement spaces for so many reasons, but here at Remake, we recognize that one of those top reasons is that there's a basic human desire to belong, to find your people, to find your communities, and to begin to go forward together. And so we hope that you begin to find that here at Remake. I now want to turn it over to my colleagues Katrina and Daisy, who are here to share with you a little bit of a different way that we think we've been changing the space of sustainable fashion over the last 10 years. Over to you both.
Hi, everyone. My name's Katrina, and I'm Remake's CMO, heading all of Remake's marketing and PR. And for those of you who don't know, I actually began working with Aisha and Remake about 8 years ago. And when I first joined the organization, the words sustainable fashion were hardly in the public lexicon, and convincing more granola type bloggers, let alone mainstream media outlets, to cover the devastating impacts of the fashion industry on people and the planet really felt like pulling teeth. But fast forward to today, Remake is no longer an underdog, but a trailblazer in the sustainable fashion space. We've been featured in thousands of publications like Marie Claire, Vogue, The Guardian, and the New York Times, helping make sustainable fashion part of mainstream cultural discourse. Our team and our ambassadors have been invited to speak at prestigious global events such as the Copenhagen Fashion Summit, and even led conversations in DC on labor and environmental policies in fashion, connecting press to garment workers and workers to brands and legislators. There, as Aisha said, there really is truly no organization doing the work we're all doing, and you should all be super proud of yourselves. But perhaps the most telling numbers are the human ones. I'm holding up this postcard that we had made in 2019, and our goal then was to remake the closets of 1 million women by 2025. And through our advocacy campaigns, educational events, we've actually engaged close to 7 million changemakers worldwide, which is incredible. And what I failed to mention in my story is that our first big breakthroughs came during the pandemic in 2020 with the launch of our viral Pay Up campaign and No New Clothes Challenge. And what started as grassroots campaigns quickly gained traction, resonating with millennials and Gen Z audience who are really hungry for solutions. So with that said, I wanted to introduce you to Daisy, Remake's head of social, to share more on Remake's impact on social media.
Hello, everyone. As Katrina said, I do our social media, which has been such a journey that you all have witnessed publicly as well, along with me. If you think back 10 years, the word sustainability was mostly reserved for what felt like academics. But now you get on social media or in the news, and it's a word that you can't escape, and it's used by mass media, by everyone. One of our goals with our social media is obviously to educate and shape sustainable fashion into a popular concept. And honestly, you can't change what you don't know, and the public can't either. So big fashion doesn't want the public to know about things like degrowth and waste streams and how their garment workers are exploited. So we're here to make those stories spread in digital media and to shape culture in that way. And that shared understanding then helps us hold brands accountable directly on social media too, from getting women paid for their orders during pay up to making sure the accord was not only renewed but expanded. Our social media continues to be a tool to activate citizens globally. And thank you all for showing up all these years on social media for us. It can be a little scary to say, flood these comments over at Levi's and then nobody comments, but everyone has shown up for me, which has been amazing, and we'll keep making change that way.
Thank you, Daisy. And drop in the comments if you have made that good trouble with Remake over on social media, like Aisha said. So many people who recognize Remake from Instagram. Yes, that's so true. We like to joke that sometimes brands' comment sections hate to see us come in, but we've made some real change in that way. And on that note, I want to turn it over to my colleague Becca, who's here to share with us a little bit about the ways that Remake has made real change in terms of corporate accountability, our final pillar of work. Over to you, Becca.
Thank you, Em, and thank you so much to everyone joining today. I'm Becca. I'm one of our senior advocacy managers here, and this is always my favorite way to start the month. So happy December. We know that big fashion is driving economic injustice, environmental devastation, and the exploitation of vulnerable communities who are already dealing with climate disaster. With so many blows to human rights and democracy around the world, 2024 has been a disheartening year in so many ways. And when men like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk exert their unchecked corporate and political power, from garment workers to delivery drivers to citizens and consumers, it harms us all. But to reiterate what my colleagues have been saying on this call, it is in these moments that we need to dig deep and remember that we too have power. Corporate accountability isn't something that is achieved in a vacuum. It is built on and sustained by a foundation of grassroots community organizing. And so it's important to think of all worker power, citizen engagement, and community education and empowerment as wins in the pursuit of this new global system we are creating together. And importantly, these are wins that exist beyond election cycles. And 2024 has seen many, many such wins for our community. From taking advantage of all the learning opportunities available to you, to getting Gap and Levi's to sign on to the International Accord in Pakistan, to engaging your political representatives in the US, Canada, the UK, Europe, Australia, and the Middle East to educate them on and build support for strong worker-centric climate policy and fashion, to taking to the streets all around the world alongside and in solidarity with supply chain workers and other civil society organizations fighting for fair pay and environmental justice. You did all of that. While challenges will always arise, together we can keep moving mountains and keep holding corporations accountable. I know that I personally have been hugely inspired by the ways in which this community has shown up and helped grow our movement this year. And so I'd like to share some of the testimonials we've received from you all so that we can continue to spread this inspiration like holiday cheer. So ambassadors have said that seeing the Accord win, for example, makes all of our long work and effort make sense. We need to really grasp those wins along the way. How powerful it is to be part of a global organized movement. Getting to speak to the employees at the brands from a place of common ground and solidarity is a powerful experience. Many people noted that this year was the first time they participated in direct action, and Remake made that possible. Seeing other people take action made other Remake ambassadors believe that they could do it. It encouraged people not to limit themselves. And seeing workers in Bangladesh and Pakistan with their own signs reminded one ambassador that we are hand in hand. And so we are all here for these fights, no matter how long they take. As Holly said earlier, our community continues to call for corporate accountability, and we don't quit. So to chat about our latest Make Amazon Pay actions, I want to turn it over to Marissa and Sammy now. Thank you.
Take it away, Sammy.
Hi, everyone. I'm calling in here from Austin, Texas, but I am Remake's community organizer from NYC. Just wanted to share a little bit about our latest Make Amazon Pay campaign. We led a thrift crawl in Park Slope, which is the neighborhood I live in. We went to 7 stores. There was about 10 of us. And I approached each store ahead of time, let them know about the Amazon Pay campaign, let them know about Remake. Some of them gave us discounts to participate in the crawl, or even said that they may donate to Remake at the end of the year, which is incredible. And then we also brought our Make Amazon Pay flyers to each of the stores to engage with the owners and let them know about the campaign and why we're choosing to support local instead of supporting Amazon. Many of the businesses put up the flyers in their stores so that anyone who's going to them can participate in the campaign as well. We also put together a small business guide that's a Google map that anyone can use that's filled with recommendations from our ambassador community. So if you're thinking about shopping on Amazon, you can just go to your Google Maps and have 100, I think we actually had 70 stores in New York City that are small local businesses to support instead, and really encouraging people to shop small, shop sustainable instead of supporting the conglomerates like Amazon.
Incredible. I love hearing how you got small businesses involved because they are in this fight with us. Marissa, what about you?
Yeah, love that action as well, Sammy. So what I had the idea to do was to do more of like a social media campaign against Amazon, just because, especially within the Canadian hub, we're all like very spread out. So it's not as easy to do like in-person actions. So we ran a workshop for sign making to do kind of like a call and put out to Amazon and against them for Black Friday. So with the workshop, we just came together and it was kind of like a brainstorming session for all of us to make signs. Holly was in there. She showed us a really kind of like sneaky sort of, what do you call it? Just like a way of like making a sign with a shopping bag, which I thought was like incredible. Where like I went to one of the bigger malls in my city and went to like big brands in Canada to call them out. But then also, if you were to do that and you had like a little shopping bag, they wouldn't be able to see. But so just to use social media as a tool to bring awareness as well to like these big corporate brands that are also participating in overconsumption and overproduction. It's just a great way to engage and kind of spread the word if it's difficult to get people together, which I find in Canada is quite challenging because people tend to be very apathetic. But just bringing that awareness to socials, I think, is a lot more powerful than we seem to remember, I feel like, really realize.
100%. Like Daisy shared, we have made some incredible waves on social media, and there's so many comments coming in the chat, just shouting out how cool it was to take part in these actions and to get to put your creativity to use in a way. I think Jemima shared a photo of you at the mall, Marissa, doing your action, and these will be coming to the Remake Social very soon. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for sharing your reflections on what makes Remake and the impact that we've made together over the last 10 years. It really has been so incredible. I am going to go ahead and now turn it over to Allison, who I am hoping can help you take this wonderful feelings and momentum forward as you close the year and you get ready for 2025, and give you some ways to join our community and stay involved as we round out this incredible community call.
Thank you, Emily. And hi, everybody. My name is Allison. I'm based in Ohio, and I'm Remake's Manager of Community Engagement. Please give all of our amazing speakers today a lot of snaps for sharing their stories and their updates with us, and extra snaps for all of you guys for spending a part of your Monday with our community on the last Remake community call of the year. I know everybody has been saying it means a lot, and it really, really does. Real change is sparked from moments of courage, a lot like the ones that Sammy and Marisha shared. That stuff, like going in front of an Amazon store to take photos with a sign that you made, is not an easy thing to do. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it can be really, really scary. It could be really easy to let fear hold us back. And that's why all of us at Remake are building this path together. Even when the future does feel uncertain, like it has a lot this fall and this winter, we're making an active choice to take action and build something powerful together. And we don't need to wait for New Year's resolutions to make this change.
Now is the time to tap into the power that you have as an individual and as a community. And now is your time to organize, to connect, to create change. And like Emily said, I hope when all of you leave this call today, you feel like there is a path forward. And I wanted to share just a few tangible ways that you can take action with Remake today to close out the year. Holly is also going to drop them in the chat because there is a lot of links. But the first one that just takes a few seconds is our Amazon petition that Holly mentioned earlier in the call. We'll drop the link again. And if you already signed the Amazon petition, I challenge you all to send it to 3 friends who you also want to sign it. We are going to be running this petition all winter, and it really is a powerful tool for us to make change against Amazon. Another one is to attend our upcoming program hosted by Jemima and Marissa, which are 2 familiar names from the call today. They had such an amazing idea to have a starting your policy journey workshop. So it will be virtual. You can attend from anywhere in the world. The link to get the Zoom is in the chat. But on this call, we're going to be learning how we can take steps in the right direction to better understand, support, and engage with policy, no matter how much experience that you have. If you've never worked on policy before, this is a great call to just come and understand, to dip your toe in and meet other people in the community. And then lastly, bring Remake into your community by either hosting an event or doing an action, even if it's by yourself, like with Marissa going to the stores and honing signs. Like, that was so powerful. We do also have a lot of people. I saw Amy in the chat said that she hosted a film screening for the Buy Now screening that made its debut on Netflix last week. You could even raise money for Remake while hosting a lot of these screenings. I know we dropped a toolkit earlier, but we'll drop it again. If you're interested in hosting a screening, you can find a lot of info there, and then reach out to Holly and I anytime. We're always happy to support you in bringing Remake into your community. And then if you are one of our Remake ambassadors, whether you've been here for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, or you just joined a few months ago, at the end of every year, we have a short ambassador survey. It helps our education team figure out what programs we want to do for next year, what resources we can create to help support you build your advocacy muscles. So if you could take a few minutes to fill it out, if you are a Remake ambassador, that would be a huge help. We're also going to be dropping it in the Slack, sending it out emails. You'll see it around through the next month. So thank you guys all so much for being here again. If you're new here, we're going to be sending out the recording out after the call, so you'll have it in your inbox and in the ambassador Slack later this week. I'm going to hand it back on over to Emily to close us out for the day.
Thank you, Allison. And again, thank you to everyone who shared their impact stories with Remake here on the call. What a warm and uplifting way to end our year and to send us into the new year. The chat quotes are flying so fast, I can barely catch them all, but so many folks are writing in that they are so grateful of this community. Robin writes, Remake reminds me of what's possible when individuals band together, and that's just the reminder I needed to end this year. On that note, we will send you all out. We'll see you over on the Remake Slack and the Remake Hub. And we will be back in 2025 on the first Monday, January 13th, for our first community call of 2025. Take care, all. Speak soon. Bye-bye.